Good morning. It is time to get up with Tiger Woods, who is in Northern Ireland and talking within just the last hour about his chances of winning the last major of the year. You'll hear from him. Meanwhile, tomorrow it all begins for real for this young man, whom some believe will change the game as we know it. What should we realistically expect from Kyler Murray in year one? And speaking of 1 year, that's all that's left on Anthony Davis's deal in L.A. He's committing to nothing more than that. Could he really be one and done again? Those are the questions. We've got the answers on Get Up this morning. Galen is raring to go. Bobby's here. We're going to fight again today. People liked it. We fought yesterday and everybody liked it. We're going to fight again today.
Got that red on, the scarlet, Ohio State looking solid.
Actually, my daughter go to Georgia, so I'm kind of representing for her.
But one way or another.
She just turned 19.
Bobby got a quick shot in, and we're not even 1 minute into the program. We got a lot to do today. We got football, we got basketball, but we start with me insisting we talk about golf.
Oh, Lord, I'm out of here.
Open Championship is at Royal Portrush this week, and Tiger Woods has spoken to the media just within the last hour or so. This will be only his fourth tournament since he won at Augusta, which is a victory that still lingers for Tiger.
Getting myself into position to win the Masters was it took a lot out of me. That golf course puts so much stress on the system. It's exciting to be able to come back and play championship golf again. I didn't think I could. And to be able to do it again and then come as close as I've come in major championships and have won one just makes it that much more special.
Now, if you're looking for a little symmetry, it's been 13 years since Tiger last won the Open Championship, but that was also the last time he won multiple majors in a year. A win this week, and he would tie Jack Nicklaus for the most years with multiple major wins by any player in the history of the sport. We'll go live to Northern Ireland a little later in this hour. Meanwhile, to the NFL, and I want to begin here as we get closer and closer to the season. The #1 overall pick, Kyler Murray, will report to training camp tomorrow. And there is no doubt the Heisman winner is insanely talented, but there are lots of questions about how well he or anyone could perform behind Arizona's offensive line. Murray will be playing behind a group that most certainly could not protect Josh Rosen a year ago. He took 45 sacks in 14 games. Cardinals had the worst pass block win rate in the league last season at 38%. So what kind of situation are they putting the young rookie into? Let's bring in our NFL analyst, Louis Riddick, who joins us here. And Lou, let's start there. What are your expectations for Kyler and the Cardinals offense as we get underway this season?
Well, my expectations are pretty high, Greeny, considering the fact that all through the offseason, word out of Arizona was that Kyler was operating this offense at a very advanced level very quickly as far as being able to get this offense into good plays, out of bad plays, make quick decisions, distribute the football effectively at a rate that maybe many people didn't necessarily expect. But when you look at the connection between him and Cliff Kingsbury and the comfort that Kyler has in this kind of offense, you really shouldn't be that shocked. And really, that's what it's all about. It's all about those relationships, that familiarity, how quickly you can get your quarterback up to speed. And if he's playing at that level, given some of the weapons that they have, the diversity of weapons that they have at wide receiver, with Larry Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk, Andy Isabella, we'll see how he develops as a rookie. And then having David Johnson, as a solid running back who's one of the best pass catchers out of the NFL, if they can protect him, I would expect Kyler Murray to come out of the gates absolutely just sprinting and flying, because there's been young quarterbacks who have done it over the past couple of years. When you look at Baker Mayfield and Carson Wentz, so look, I don't think it's out of the question for Kyler to throw for 3,500 yards, complete 62% of his passes, throw 20 touchdowns. I don't think that's something that's really out of the realm of possibility. And if he can do that, and this defense can come around, and this offensive line, now we know that that's very, very important. Offensive line can provide him with good enough protection. Look, Arizona could be sitting there somewhere around 7-9, maybe even challenging for 500 this year if everything goes right. So the sky's the limit for this kid. I think he'll have a big year.
That would be remarkable. It would be a home run, if you will, which is an interesting way of putting it, considering the fact that he, of course, was a baseball player. Let me bring Bobby into the conversation. What do you make of this? Kyler Murray getting set to start tomorrow.
I think Kyler Murray is going to have a fine rookie season, but to me, Greeny, it's more about Cliff Kingsbury and what he's going to do. You heard Louis Riddick talk about that offensive line. The line play, it goes back to what they were able to do at Texas Tech and the offense that they ran there. They can throw the ball around. They can put stats up. They're going to be able to have some success. But what are you going to do to protect your young quarterback? Yes, he can put the ball down the field. They're going to be able to put up big yards, but there's going to be times you play good defenses. Like when they played Ole Miss, they played TCU, Kansas State. teams like that actually had decent defenses in the Big 12, they struggled mightily. They weren't able to put the points up, only going over 4 touchdowns one time, twice being held under 20 points. So when you have a young quarterback, there's going to be struggles. What are you going to do up front to make easy throws for him, get him in and out of checks, and to be able to help that offensive line so that they can protect him? This isn't college where you can just get 5 guys out all the time. You're going to need to hang a tight end, keep a back in, and do some things to help your young quarterback.
Yeah, this is a situation where they may be trying to change the NFL as we know it. It happens every now and again, so we'll see if this is the combination that can. Let me move on to the Cowboys now, because there's some very interesting comments that came out yesterday from Dallas quarterback Dak Prescott, who we all know is still waiting on a long-term contract, but he's not the only one. His teammates Ezekiel Elliott and Amari Cooper, among others, are also looking to get paid big money. And Prescott recently told USA Today none of them should take a discount. Here's what he said, quote, "It's important for all these guys to get every bit of their worth. I want to see Zeke the highest paid. I want to see Amari the highest paid. I want to see myself up there, and I don't think any of that is too far-fetched. I don't think it's fair to sit there and say this guy can't get that because he needs the rest of the team. The rest of the team can all get theirs, but the way the league is trending." So let me bring Louis Riddick back on that thought. You are one whose job it has been in the past in the front office to put this stuff together. Sounds good to say, well, I'll be the highest paid and he'll be the high and he'll be. But how do you do this with 3 guys, and there are others who all need to get their money?
Yeah, I don't know which way he thinks the league is trending, but there is such a thing called a salary cap, and not everybody can get theirs. And I understand, though, look, the number one thing that a player needs to do is maximize cash to himself during the duration of his career. We understand that and we get that, but you have to do that within reason if you want to field a competitive football team where, by that I mean, when your good players come up, you can try and re-sign some of these guys and keep your core intact. I don't know if they can go ahead and afford to have him be the highest paid, or rather one of the highest paid at his position, have Amari be the highest paid at his position, Ezekiel be the highest paid at his position, when you also have Byron Jones, who plays a critical position at corner, coming up for a contract extension as well in 2020. Jalen Smith coming up for a contract extension as well in 2020. Those guys are important. All of those guys need to be able to, again, take care of themselves and maximize cash to the player, but it's also, the responsibility of the team to minimize risk, manage the salary cap effectively, and constantly be able to keep an eye on the long term so they can remain competitive. Look, but trust me, I get it. In this day and age, especially with all these football players, watching basketball salaries just go through the roof, and it seems as though, hey, as long as you got 1 or 2 superstars in the NBA, you're good to go, and you can just fill it in with a bunch of guys off the street as far as the rest of the roster is concerned. Maybe that mentality is starting to creep into some NFL players' minds, but we all know it doesn't work that way in the NFL, and you're going to have an eye a little bit towards what the rest of the roster is going to look like if you wind up eating up too much of the salary cap pie. And, hey, if it's still good for you and you don't mind losing football games because the rest of your roster is weak, then more power to you. But, look, I get what he's saying, but it's not going to go down that way.
Well done. Louis, such a pleasure. Thank you so much, my man, as always, and we'll see you again soon. We'll bring it to Bobby here because it does feel as though here's a Cowboys team that we all know hasn't even been to the NFC Championship game in what feels like forever. But now it almost feels like their window is closing, right? They've got to get it done, and they've got to get it done immediately. Let's talk about Dak and Zeke and how important the running back is to this quarterback.
When you talked about that salary cap pie, Zeke is going to need some of that salary cap pie because of the things that he does, and Dak knows that. He understands it. One of the best things Dak Prescott does is we're going to see here he throws the ball really well with a play-action pass. 30% better play action with Zeke on the field without. We see Zeke in the I formation sitting back here. We're going to see the Giants safety who's coming into the box, the 2 linebackers. It's 1st and 10. It is a running situation, critical time of the game just to start. You see them come down. The play action pulls in the box safety, the 2 linebackers, opening up a void, creating a pocket for Dak to sit in. You see him go down the field. The free safety even bit on it, and that's Tavon Austin going over the top. That's not Amari Cooper. That's Tavon Austin being able to get weak. Now we're going to see him in a similar situation. Alfred Morris back here, 2nd and 6. The 3 Giants linebackers running down. As you watch it and sit here, the play action comes again. Look at the linebackers. No bite on the run fake. That's going to make it harder for the offensive line. It's harder for the receivers to get open. Dak looks down the field, nowhere to go with the ball. The pressure gets there, and then you ultimately have a sack. Dak Prescott, 30% better in play-action passing than when Zeke Elliott is on the field than when he is not. He understands it. It's one of the things he does the very best.
I totally get that. That does not necessarily answer the question, should they pay Zeke Elliott long-term right now, right? Those are two separate things. We all understand how important he is. No one is questioning that, including Dak Prescott. But if you're going to just pay one of those two guys, or let's even throw Cooper in there, which ones are you prioritizing?
I'm not a big proponent of paying running backs, and I think this is why, and Zeke understands that. That's why he's holding out now, because Dak needs him at this stage in his career to still be able to have that type of success for their offense. If he chooses to wait till next year, he may be in the same situation that Melvin Gordon is. You talked about the window. Zeke sees it closing. It's time for me to try to get my money and not wait till another year till they'll have me pressed and they can use the option and potentially 2 more franchise tags.
Who knows what winds up happening with Melvin Gordon this year. He's looking for a new deal. We all saw what happened to Le'Veon Bell, who had to sit out an entire season to get a new contract. So we'll see where they go. Okay, we gave Bobby some homework yesterday, and he came up huge. He has put together a list of burning questions as we sort of approach the start of training camps here that we're going to do over the course of the next day or two. And here's the very first question for you right now. How much will Ben Roethlisberger miss Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell this year?
Well, I think he's going to miss him a little bit. He's going to miss Bell, I think, more than he's going to miss Brown. If you look with the Steelers historically, with their wide receivers and what they've been able to do, they've been able to replace wide receivers. Le'Veon Bell, although James Conner was good last season, he was able to put up yards. He's not near as diverse as Le'Veon Bell. They can't flex him out. He's not going to be the home run hitter that Bell is. You look at Mike Wallace, Plaxico Burress. They've been able to push the ball down the field. Even Emmanuel Sanders. Those guys were Pro Bowlers either with the Steelers or after, and they've been able to replace them. Juju Smith-Schuster's sitting there now, so he's going to be in good shape. They'll be okay. They will miss Le'Veon Bell, I believe, more than they're going to miss Antonio
people
Brown.
will be listening to you, and they will say they played all of last season without Le'Veon Bell, and it looked okay. Do you think they miss him more now than they missed him a year ago?
It's going to continue to be exacerbated a little bit. And did the Steelers make the playoffs last year, Greeny?
They did not.
They did not. People can say, well, they were fine. Well, they didn't make the playoffs.
Right.
And James Conner isn't a bad running back. He's just not as good as Le'Veon Bell. He's not as versatile. And so you're going to lead more on those receivers. Big Ben's been really good throughout the totality of his career of making his receivers better. But he's typically had a pretty good running game and a versatile running back. Lev Bell was that guy. He wasn't with them last year, and they didn't make the playoffs.
What do you expect from Roethlisberger? Because this feels like there's as much pressure on him as there has been in a really long time. It feels as though they cleared the decks of all the guys he had an issue with, and now it's all on him. At his age, can he still handle that?
He can still make all the throws he needs to. This is going to test his leadership skills. He has a young receiver in Juju Smith-Schuster who showed up big last year. But Antonio Brown, you have to remember, is still drawing a lot of the coverage. They drafted a guy who I really like, Dante Johnson, out of Toledo. Very talented route runner, can make some plays down the field. He's going to have to step up and be that number 2 receiver like Juju Smith-Schuster was last year. But if you look historically, Ben has always made the receivers around him better, and I think he's going to continue to do that.
All right, that is Bobby's first burning question of the day. There will be more. We have a lot more football coming your way. But now, to the NBA. Anthony Davis introduced as a Laker over the weekend. Expectations are sky high in L.A., where GM Rob Pelinka said anything less than a championship would not be a success. Our Rachel Nichols sat down with the Brow to talk about his expectations in year one.
Yeah, you come here and said already, I'm here to win titles. Rob Pelinka told the media anything less than a championship is not a success. Are you guys worried you're setting the bar a little bit too high here?
No, we have a standard and that is it, especially for me as a player. If I don't win a championship, then, the season was not a success.
At your introductory press conference, they introduced you as someone who they hope will be a pillar of the Lakers for a decade to come.
Yeah.
You're only signed through this season.
Yeah.
Do you think you will be a pillar of the Lakers for years and years to come?
Honestly, Rachel, I'm just focused on this season. I don't know what's going to happen. I have 1 year here, so I'm going to make the best of this year. And when that time comes around in the summer or whenever the season's over, hopefully around mid-June, after we just had this parade and I need a couple days to think. Then we can talk about that with management and front office and ownership and. But until then, I'm trying to do whatever I can to help this team win this year.
So in that conversation, you just heard it right there, he referred to, I got 1 year here. Now, Anthony Davis is one of the great one-and-dones in the history of college basketball. If he's a one-and-done with the Lakers, then the Lakers will have made one of the worst deals of all time. They mortgaged the entirety of their future, essentially, to bring him there. What did you make of him talking about this in a 1 year time frame?
It'd be indirectly like what happened with the Boston Celtics as they had Kyrie Irving and he walks away and they get nothing in return. What I want fans and media to understand is today's player is a lot more savvy and understand that being an entrepreneur is just as important as being a champion. So therefore, I don't have to commit publicly. It does me no good. It doesn't change my money. People now look at players not committing different. They look at load management different. People look at great players changing teams not as taboo. So if you're Anthony Davis, in your head, he wants to be a Los Angeles Laker for a really long time. You saw how giddy he was, Greeny. He's already talking about the parade. He's already talking about how happy he is to be there. But it does him no good to commit long-term vocally. It's just a matter of going out and actually playing basketball.
I mean, does it make a huge, he could easily have answered her question by saying, yes, it is my expectation that I'll be here for a long time and we're going to win a lot of championships and all that sort of thing. And then if it goes badly, I guess are we going to agree maybe it doesn't make any difference at what he says at this point, because anyone can say anything they want. Kyrie Irving said, I'll come back to Boston if they'll have me, and then he couldn't get out of town fast enough. Maybe it doesn't make any difference what Anthony Davis says in July.
Absolutely. With a 24-hour media cycle, social media, and us dissecting every word, it does the player no justice to commit long-term, because anything can happen. Kyrie Irving did commit in the offseason. Then once the season started, he was unhappy in Boston, unhappy with Brad Stevens, unhappy with Danny Ainge, unhappy with the young players. This won't happen with Anthony Davis because he chose to be in L.A., unlike Kyrie didn't choose to be in Boston, but there's no reason for him to commit in the media.
But when you look at all the relationships that are involved here, okay, and we understand there's LeBron, there's the agent Rich Paul, who was invested obviously in both of them and with both of them, and Davis coming to the Lakers and all they gave up. Do you think there's any real chance, no matter how badly things go this first year, that Davis only plays one season with the Lakers?
No real chance that Anthony Davis leaves the Lakers. No real chance Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are going to lead the Clippers. We're going to talk about them as well. It's all the exact same conversation. Today's player has enough savvy to know that when I played in the league, fans and media used to care about that commitment and that investment. They wanted you to be a part of their community, to be a pillar of it. Now, fans are just root for players. So they don't necessarily need that commitment, and players know it.
Yeah, I think that's right. That's one of the changes that have been made in the NBA that I thought was a terrible thing for the sport. I thought it would hurt the sport. And in reality, I think it's helped the sport. I think fans create new interest and things like rivalries and all that we used to care about go out the window. Now they're just looking for the star power, and we've got it in two places in L.A.
And players know how to keep the suspense going. That's what likes and follows and social media is all about.
Right.
You have no need to follow me or hang on every word if I give you all of the information right now.
Listen, I've been doing these teases on the air for 20 years, and it tends
to
work.
You're the best at teasing.
Anthony Davis just did that. Basically, he said, will I stay here for the Lakers? Watch this year, and you'll find out. Meanwhile, let's get up and go. Ben Simmons has a new deal, Jalen. It's official. 5 years, $170, the max with the Sixers. Will the Sixers regret giving him this deal?
Not at all. I'm happy for Ben Simmons because as a guy that's going to be a perennial all-star, flirt with triple-doubles on a nightly basis, he definitely deserves the opportunity to get paid top dollar. Now, like any individual at any craft, he continues to have to work on it. In particular, his jump shot outside of the paint.
Get up and go to Golden State, where general manager Bob Myers told reporters the team intends on keeping D'Angelo Russell, despite all the speculation that he could be flipped. Do you expect him?
Perfect example. What should the GM say? What should he say? Right. I want this dude for 25 games, and we're going to flip him for a big because we got a hole in the middle. Do you expect him to say that if they just gave him $100 million?